everybody, and welcome to day one of the 7-day journaling challenge with me, Kirsten Elsa. I'm so excited that you guys are here and that you jumped on board to do this challenge with me. Writing is something that I absolutely love. I'm really passionate about it. It's my favorite part of my full-time job, like the tasks where I have to write. I also love doing it in my free time. So I've received a lot of compliments. I do believe it's one of my strengths, so I'm really excited to share it with you guys and to take this challenge together. So first things first, each day for the rest of this week, you're gonna get an email from me. Some of them will include a video like this. And my goal with all of these, if I do a video, is to keep them as brief as possible because I know that we're all really busy. And the point of journaling isn't to take up a large chunk of our time. It's really to use a small amount of time to capture some important or even some mundane moments that we want to look back on in the years that follow. So this video might be just a little bit longer because we have a few housekeeping things that I want to go over to really set the foundation for this challenge. So stick with me today. I promise they'll be brief from here on out. So first things first, we're going to go over why I think it's important to journal. And I want to inspire you with a little bit of a story from my personal experiences. And then we're going to talk about kind of the tip that I want to give you for the day. And then finally, I'll give you your assignment or your challenge for the day one of this challenge. So first things first, I want to give you a little bit of a glimpse of my journaling experience. So I started journaling about 6 years ago when I was a junior in college, 7 years ago. And in that time, I've captured so many incredible moments, from the good to the bad to the in-between to the flat out boring, but it's just fun to look back on. So I was going to give you a little glimpse. This is the number of journals that I have filled over the last 6 years. And I'm sharing that with you not to brag because I've done all of this, but to show you that it doesn't take a lot of time to capture so many important memories that I'm going to be able to look back on for years and years and years to come. So just imagine if in 6 years you can hold up all of these journals and show the progress that you've made as well. Now, I want to give you a little bit of a story. I'm actually going to read something from my personal journal. And it has to do with my husband, Justin, so I hope this doesn't embarrass him. But this is actually from the night where he first told me that he liked me as more than a friend. And I hope that it gives you guys a glimpse of what you're going to be able to capture in the journaling process. Some of the thoughts, some of the feelings, and just the little details that you might not remember. So this is a journal entry back from 2012. And it starts like this. Last Friday, one of my best friends, Justin, who I've already talked a lot about, talked to me about how he likes me as more than a friend now. I was hanging out in his room earlier because that night we had stolen one of his shoes. I needed it for a scavenger hunt. And when I returned, I stayed and hung out for a little bit. Another one of our friends was there too, but when I went to leave, Justin said he'd walk me out to my car. I was a little surprised because he didn't normally do that, so I told him it was really okay that he didn't have to, but he said that's okay because he needed to talk to me anyway. This made me really nervous, but I waited for him to get his shoes on and then we left. I had one really anxious moment where I actually thought he was going to tell me how he liked a different girl or something. But then he said that lately he's been thinking of me as more than a friend. I really couldn't believe anything that he was saying. And the story goes on to talk some more about the things that I thought for the rest of that night and some more of the conversations that we had, but I just wanted to share that with you because that's the type of thing you're going to be able to capture when you're journaling. Yes, if I hadn't written that down, I probably would still remember that story. It's a monumental story about the time that I, first had that experience with my now husband. So chances are I'd remember that experience. But would I remember that I had stolen his shoe earlier for a scavenger hunt that day? Definitely not. Would I have remembered that really anxious moment as we were walking out the door where I thought he was going to tell me hey, I know that, we've kind of, liked each other, but I'm going to actually go pursue this other girl? I wouldn't have remembered any of those things. And it's so cool to be able to look back and find those little details that I wouldn't have remembered if I didn't write them down. So that's your little dose of inspiration. These are the types of things I'm hoping that you guys are able to capture as you begin your journaling journey. So that's that. Now, onto the advice that I want to give you for today. My advice for today is don't be fancy. This is a really important thing when it comes to journaling. And I mean it in a couple of different ways. Number one, don't be fancy with your paper. So when we move on with the rest of this challenge, I literally want you to grab the closest thing near you in your house that resembles a piece of paper that you can write on. I don't want you to go out and purchase a really fancy journal right out of the gate because sometimes we use that as a delaying tactic when we should actually just be writing. So find that old spiral notebook that you never finished using out of college. There's still some empty pages in here, there is. Find an old calendar. even if it's not lined paper. There's lots of blank spaces in a calendar. Use it. Other, old notebooks, or I don't even know what this is, but I've had it in my house for years. Like, it's just a little mini field notebook. Like, you can use anything that's near you to journal. So don't let not having a fancy journal hold you back. So that's your tip number one about not being fancy. The other thing about not being fancy is in your writing. I want you to accept the fact right now that you're writing for yourself and yourself alone, that no one in the future is going to read your journal. No one is going to look back on it to try to, come up with some grand plan and, try to get inspiration from life. Like, this is just for you, with the exception of the journal entry that I just read to all of you from my journal. It's only for you. So don't be fancy and try to write so you're impressing someone with, good language, good grammar, good spelling. It doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter. So don't be fancy. I want you to write as if you're writing to one of your best friends. Actually, I want you to write as if you're talking to one of your best friends. You're telling them a story. That's how I want you to write. And now, onto your assignment for day one of this 7-day journaling challenge. Your assignment today is to grab that piece of paper, whatever's closest to you, grab it, grab a pen, and I want you to write about something that's happened to you in the last 24 hours. I don't want you to start with that one big experience you've always been wanting to journal about, something really big that happened in your life. Don't start there. I want you to write about something that happened in the last 24 hours, whether it was a conversation you had, something funny you saw one of your kids or grandkids do, just some random conversation you had with a coworker at work. Maybe it was a movie that you watched. What did you eat for dinner? Literally anything that happened to you in the last 24 hours. I want you to pick one thing, and I just want you to write briefly about it. Just write it down, get it done. That's your assignment for today. Capture one thing that's happened in the last 24 hours. All right, you guys, that's all I have for today. I will check back in tomorrow, but keep it up. Get in that mindset of why it's so important to journal. Think about all of the things that you're gonna be able to look back on months, years, decades from now that you would never have remembered if you didn't write it down. All right, we'll check in tomorrow. Thanks, guys.